ABC24 This Week starts right now.
Hello, and thank you for joining us on ABC24 This Week. I am your host, Pepper Baker. You are here for the real stories behind the big stories, and I hope you'll continue to join us every Sunday at 9 a.m., 10:35 p.m., or by streaming 24+. All right, let's see who is at the table today. As always, ABC24 political analyst Otis Sanford. We have Sam Hardiman with the Daily Memphian, and we have Luke Simbel, a Republican strategist for Shelby County. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you
for having us. All right, let's get to the topics. First, data centers. We are getting into how the Memphis City Council and Tennessee Valley Authority are regulating these billionaire-owned computing giants. And then secondly, the tragic death of a 6-year-old girl with autism who was left on a hot school bus at a Cordova daycare. And lastly, a demonstration is planned for Monday's Shelby County Commission meeting to demand an end to the Oversight Board lawsuit. And we'll also take a look at Shelby County Mayor-elect Mikkel Lowry's transition team. But let's get back to number one. The focus around data centers in Memphis is shifting a little bit from location to regulation. Now, the Memphis City Council passed the first reading of a proposal that would temporarily ban approving permits for a new data center or for new data centers and large computing facilities. On Thursday, the Tennessee Valley Authority approved the implementation of a new utility rate class specific to the region's data centers. Councilman J.B. Smiley, who co-sponsored the moratorium at City Council, made an interesting point during Tuesday's meeting.
SpaceX leases facility to Anthropic for $1.2 billion a month. At some time, our community has to say, you're not going to keep playing with us and giving us the bare minimum. At some point, Memphis deserves our just due.
Now, the Greater Memphis Chamber is not on board with the City Council's vote on a temporary pause. A statement released this week says Memphis is uniquely positioned to lead the nation in hosting the data center industry. It added, quote, "The better path is not to close the door, it is to stay at the table and negotiate harder." All right, Sam, normally I start off with you, Otis, but Sam is our XAI guy.
Yes, he is.
So how does this change the game for data centers? Does it make it harder for companies to develop in this region?
Which one? Moratorium or the...
I want to say both. And.
Okay, yeah, so I would say the moratorium, we're talking about a bill that just was on first reading. And who's to say that that's the bill that's actually going to pass? And so I don't know if it makes it harder. I would certainly, if I'm a developer, be thinking because, you know, I don't move at the speed of light. The second thing is the Tennessee Valley Authority looks like a really interesting proposal that has passed now, which is going to make it harder to build data centers because you can't build it on spec now. You're going to essentially have to come up with serious amounts of capital. Luke just provided me with an interesting figure. It's going to be $1.52 million per megawatt in a non-refundable fee over 5 megawatts. So that means if you're coming in with a $300 megawatt data center, you got to pay $450 million up front. That means you have to have deep pockets. But as Councilman Smiley said, these companies do have deep pockets. Right. So like they can afford very clearly, as TVA is going to start charging them, to pay for the infrastructure that they need to generate the giant revenues that they get out of being able to provide compute to other people. That's certainly the case. However, TVA's got to release the data. It's got to show us the actual rate class. They haven't done that yet. The TVA board voted, approved it. No one saw what they were voting on. Memphis City Council doesn't do that.
Mm-hmm. Now, you have followed like utility bills with XAI particularly.
Yes.
So from my understanding, the 10% rate increase will happen over 3 years.
Yes.
So what do they pay now, and then could they be paying more?
Yeah, they could be paying a lot more now. Right now they're in what is the manufacturing rate class, so they're being treated like Electrolux was before them, essentially. I mean, they are in the Electrolux building. I mean, that's just, there is no rate class within the Tennessee Valley Authority until it starts on October 1st for data centers. Previously, no one was thinking about, hey, these giant servers that we're putting in factories, because that's really where like all the GDP growth in our country is coming from right now. Is this stuff, if you really think about it. And so like no one was thinking about that before, and now they're like, oh, we need to charge you more because you only really consume electricity. There aren't a ton of jobs. There are really high paying jobs that are associated with this. I don't want to poo-poo that, but it's not a ton of jobs. The real value to communities, and you see it in Memphis very clearly in property tax revenue. They're the largest taxpayer in Memphis.
All right.
Full stop. Will be this year. All right, they are going to be the biggest new thing on the city's financial documents in terms of taxpayer in a long time. Mm-hmm. And like that's a real thing. And so that's the benefit to communities. And so yeah, they should It's utilities.
Yeah, Otis, will that temporary pause that City Council voted on survive 2 more readings? And what are the legal concerns here?
Well, the legal concerns is, and I think one of the council members raised it, was that they're not sure that it is legal. And that may take a court decision to decide that. But whether it'll survive, who knows at this point? I do think it was beneficial to pass it on from the first reading. This is just sort of pro forma. City councils have in the past moved legislation or ordinances this way just to keep the conversation going. And then we'll see what happens after the second reading. Yep. It's the third reading that's really going to tell the story here because that's where the robust debate will happen. And minds will have to be made up by then to whether you're going to vote for it or not. We'll see. That's farther down the road.
And what the document looks like by then, too.
Right.
What the document was put online on Tuesday is not going to be the document we see in 4 weeks.
Absolutely.
Someone should just take the one now, get the one in 4 weeks, put it to Claude, see what you see.
And see what... That's right. See what happens.
Exactly. Use your local resources.
Luke, so the chamber's response here, they came out the gate saying, this is wrong, and, we already read off of it, but does it have merit to you here? Is there an obstacle of economic growth if this moratorium passes?
Well, of course, when you have a moratorium and you don't allow that innovation or that building, there's going to be an economic impact. And like you said, XAI is the largest property taxpayer here in Shelby County. I have a couple figures here. $12 million in 2025. They're expected to pay a total of $35 million in 26 and 27. In 1 year, their property tax is expected to jump $10 million, which is the almost identical amount to the increase in the cost of the city's pension plans. So
which
what
you
they are
reported,
contributing,
I think this is just what I read.
Thank you. Thank you for providing.
But that is from TVA.
Yeah, and so I think, like you said, it is important to note the taxes that they're paying. And data centers are a necessary evil, or just necessary. I'm using my phone here today. If you have a smartphone, you need to have a data center behind it. And
many data centers.
Yeah, and I think the way that XAI is doing it here locally, I really believe is the right way to do it. They are in an industrial park. We have to have conversations about where these data centers should be. Do we want them butted up against residential development? Probably not. I think it's perfectly fine for local communities to say, no, we don't want them near homes. We need them in industrial parks.
But they are near homes in South Haven.
In South Haven, that's right.
Electrolux, well away from homes. But in South Haven, their power plant has really transformed the way of life in the neighborhood south of them. Has really changed it. You can hear it from the neighborhood. You can hear it from the South Haven City Park because their power plant is right there. And so there needs to be a conversation. There's a lawsuit over it, but there needs to be a conversation about what happens for those homeowners? Because their property values are probably not the same.
Sure.
Right. Sure. And 2 other quick points here, as it relates to what the TVA did. I think they made the right decision here based on the fact that you don't want multi-billionaires, and especially in Elon Musk's case, a trillionaire, richest man in the world, having his operations subsidized by regular ratepayers. So I think what the TVA is doing there is absolutely spot on. And so
XAI supports this. They sent a fact sheet to the Memphis City Council that said they supported this.
And that's a good thing. And so that actually, to me, is a bigger development than right now what the moratorium has to do.
One more thing. Before we just came on, SpaceXAI Memphis's account, which has started to tweet all of a sudden, or post, whatever they do, they've started to do it recently in the past couple of weeks. They said that they are going to be interested in hooking up their batteries, which is a multi-gigawatt installation of Tesla Megapacks at their facilities here, to the broader grid.
Yep.
That is a thing that right now, MLG&W is struggling to scale 125 megawatts. Not struggling because they can't do it, but because government takes a while. This company's already got several gigawatts, most likely, of batteries here. And so it's not going to be for everyone's use all the time. The devil is really going to be in the details, which are public record. But seriously, that's a real thing, and that's very interesting for the broader grid.
One more very, very quick point here having to do with the tax revenue, and you are absolutely right on that. They are going to be paying a ton of money in tax revenue that'll help the city. But to Luke's point, we're not seeing a whole lot of jobs here. And so, and they're the kinds of jobs that I don't see a lot of Memphians standing in line to get. So let's put it in perspective here. The tax revenue is great.
That come to supply the data center, chip companies, and other things that have already committed to coming to the area.
I mean, there are lots of blue collar jobs, you know, wiring these facilities that do pay a lot of money. That if you're looking for work, you can find it. It's a matter of, do you want to do it?
Well, I just hope we don't have anti-DEI that pops up that keeps.
Well, I'm not really seeing many other large-scale projects popping up in Shelby County at this point, so I think we would be happy to take all the business we can get.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. It's so funny how this conversation shifted in 2025 to now. Like, they're here, and now it's like, how are we going to coexist?
Oh, yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
All right, when we come back, we have a slightly more sad note about a 6-year-old girl who died in Cordova at a daycare. We'll talk about the details and if charges will be pressed. Stay with us.
We're here for all of it. These are the stories that move Memphis.
A 6-year-old girl with autism died this week after being left on a bus for hours. The Cordova daycare responsible for her transport is now permanently closed. Winter Jones's family is left grieving the 6-year-old after she was left on that bus. Memphis police report that Winter was discovered at Kidd University on Walnut Knoll Lane in Cordova Thursday, August 13th. She died at the hospital. Christopher Jones, who was Winter's uncle, told us she had autism and was nonverbal, so she couldn't tell anyone she was still on the bus and stayed there for at least 6 hours. The Tennessee Department of Human Services found at least 5 violations possibly related to the child's death, including that a walkthrough to confirm that all children were off the bus was not completed. TDHS confirmed the daycare is no longer licensed and is permanently closed. There are funeral arrangements now for Winter Jones, and that's there's 2 visitations, one on August 28th, another one on August 29th, with a funeral service to follow after that. Otis, reaction first, and then who is responsible here?
Yeah, this is a real sad case, and the community is outraged on this. And so the community, and I've heard a lot, either on social media or directly, the community is demanding some accountability here. So I think the onus is now on the district attorney to see if there's a criminal violation here, maybe something related to criminal negligence, homicide. I mean, who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. But very briefly, Pepper, you know, I've been around here long enough. I'm the senior citizen. We have been through this before. In 1997, we had I think it was a 2-year-old, Destiny Williams, died after being left on a daycare van. In 1999, 2 years later, we had 2 on the same day, Brandon Mann and Darnisha Slater. And that was a huge story that led to an investigation by the newspaper that ended up with people going to jail for corruption, for taking taxpayer money and using it not for the daycares, but for themselves. And then in 2003, we had Amber Cox Cody left on so we've been through this before. And you would think that after all of that and the anguish that the community went through, that would not happen again. As a matter of fact, people said, we want to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And now it's happening again. And we're in 2026 with technology the way it is. That should not have happened. And that's why the community is demanding some accountability.
Yeah, ABC24 did find that the TDHS's update included a history of violations, and again, a lot of it being that there wasn't a device monitoring system on the bus and that the staff themselves didn't walk through. So,
and all of that came about as a result of those other deaths. Of
course. So, you know, is the staff member the one who was driving the bus, or is it going to be the daycare owner who is now held responsible? That's either one of you that.
There should have been a policy that before you shut off the bus and leave, you check the rows to make sure that they're empty. So the question to me is, was there a policy? If there was, it clearly wasn't followed. So to me, that means the bus driver probably is responsible. If there wasn't a policy, which would just shock me, or there wasn't a training, then it's whoever's running the facility. It's such a sad, unfortunate situation that is easily avoidable with a quick check.
No question. And again, I go back to the technology here, and we have come so far than we were in 1997. I mean, we have cars today that if you turn off your car, there's a notice that check the back seat. And so there should be, and there is a policy related to transporting children on daycare vans, and it obviously was not followed here, or whether this operation had instituted that policy, but certainly the driver did not.
The question, I've just been really honestly the past few minutes been thinking about like my own experience on a school bus as a kid. And I remember we had those like emergency, you know, there were levers that you could pull. There was a way to push out. Like, and I remember like we were supposed to learn every year at the start of the school year, they were supposed to tell us when they picked us up, like how to get out if you got stuck or something, right? Like that's what at least I remember. Yeah. I don't know if that happens here, but like again, like if these vehicles, like there should be a way if someone's trapped inside to be able to get out.
Well,
well.
But you're talking about an autistic child.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
the difference.
That's true.
And when we talk about prosecution here, so at the time of this recording, it's a little over a week since the death of Winter Jones, and they're still reviewing the case. So is that a normal amount of time? Is the DA's office slow? I know that in other particularly criminal cases, when we have that suspect picture and when they catch them, it's like the charges are right there. Almost a day later, we report it in our newscast. So I guess I'm having trouble wrapping my head around why that doesn't seem to be happening here.
Well, in my view, I don't think it's an inordinate amount of time here. You really have to look at this case very carefully. We're talking about a criminal charge here. And so I think they have to be dead certain that they are be able to prove, again, I think the highest level of criminality here could be criminal negligent homicide. But they need to talk it over, need to get all of the facts, interview people, including the driver, and then make that decision. I don't think a week or so is inordinate.
Yeah, I mean, I generally agree with that. I think we need to have an investigation that's happening. And to me, I would be surprised if charges are not brought. I don't know what the charge will be, but you're right. I think the high criminal negligent homicide certainly would be the highest charge here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, definitely paying our respects to Winter Jones and feeling for the family. When we come back, we're going to shift gears to the County Commission, what's ahead for the meeting, and as well as Mayor-elect Mikkel Lowry's transition team.
Backs are headache, joint pain, hives, and muscle aches. Ask about Nemluvio today.
Well, Memphis Shelby County Schools is almost a month into the new school year, and the district's leadership is still in limbo. So where does the lawsuit against the Memphis Shelby County's Schools Oversight Board stand? And as it stands, the state-appointed Oversight Board tasked with the final approval over the budget, contracts, and staffing is on hold. A judge ruled to allow the elected board members to continue business as usual to allow further review of the case. The education advocacy group Memphis Lift is planning a demonstration at the Shelby County Commission meeting Monday, demanding an end to the MSCS Oversight Board lawsuit. That group's leader, Sarah Carpenter, told me over the phone the lawsuit is a waste of taxpayer money and that the elected leaders need to listen to what the community wants, which she says is the Oversight Board. All right, Luke, we're going to open it up to you here. The Oversight Board, just because you work very closely with somebody who was very pro-Oversight Board here, the lawsuit's kind of like at a standstill now, but what could happen, or what's the next move?
Well, what could happen is the judge could determine that, yes, this is not a legal act by the state and say you're not allowed to do it, or the judge can say, yes, it is, and you could have appeals and all that. So it may take a while to resolve. One thing I do want to say, though, is the school board, the current school board, and the superintendent does not have to wait to start fixing some of the problems found in the audit for the Oversight Board. They could work with the people they need to work with now to start fixing some of those concerns. I think that would show goodwill. I think it would be good for the district. Obviously, there were concerns that were found, so we can fix them now even before the Oversight Board is approved by the judge or not.
That's a good point.
That is a good point. And the protest happening tomorrow, Sarah Carpenter, who's with Memphis Lift, said that there's going to be at least like 20, maybe 30 parents who want the Oversight Board, in her words. So, Otis, I just want to say, should the elected leaders listen to the community on this one?
Well, I mean, that's not universal.
That's true.
Not
everybody.
The whole community is not clamoring for this Oversight Board.
Right.
So let's just put it in perspective there. I just believe that let the courts sort this out. And yes, it may take, if the courts rule, no matter how they rule, it may be appeal or it may keep going. But Luke makes a very good point here. Don't wait for the Oversight Board to either be effective or put into the trash heap. Make some of those changes and corrections where and when you can.
Sam, we're going to have to skip you on this one because we're running into time. But I do want to turn our attention now to Shelby County Mayor-elect Mikkel Lowry. We are taking a look at the people tasked with helping his transition team, into office, which he will do on September 1st. Quite a quick turnaround since he was elected. But last week, here was this big event with all maybe in the neighborhood of 60 members on that team who are helping him transition into the mayor's seat. There's 4 categories. There's 6 executive committee members, a whole lot of people in the working group part, and then there's the transition team members, and then roundtable discussion. So there's kind of 4 categories there. Luke, you have a lot of experience with knowing what it takes to get somebody put in office. So what is the purpose of a transition team?
Well, there are a couple purposes. You really do want people who will help you, give you the information and the knowledge you need amongst the various departments, and the other thing is you're satisfying certain political constituencies, those who supported you, key groups that maybe didn't support you in your race. You want to get them involved. You want them inside the tent rather than outside the tent hollering in. So that's another purpose. I think the best thing, quickly back to MSCS, one of the best things Mikkel Lowry could do to solidify support from the state and show that he is willing to collaborate with the Republican supermajority legislature is encourage that the lawsuit be dropped about the Oversight Board. I think Paul Young has done a great job in working with the state, not getting involved in hot-button issues that he knows the legislature will disagree with. If Mikkel Lowry could do the same thing and show some goodwill, I think that would be very good for Shelby County.
Although he is a commissioner that is listed in that lawsuit, you're saying he should be the voice to drop it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would build some goodwill between the state legislature and his administration. And again, Paul Young has done a really good job of that, and I would love to see Mikkel Lowry do the same.
Paul Young has done a good job in your eyes, but a lot of people think he should be making more of a wave as well. But, that's fair. Sam, your thoughts on the transition team? Is it effective to have this many people and a vetting process of who's on it?
The Shelby County mayor had 25 days from election to taking office. I asked him about this. We had a brief interview last week. He said if he could do anything to change it, he would. Maybe that's something people should think about. You know, I'm just saying, like, is it easy to put together a government in 25 days? No.
That's not enough time. Take it all the way to the end of the year, probably. That's probably a better way to do it. I agree. I sympathize with him having to put that many people. He's got some quality people on there. But as we were talking about in the previous segment, he also had Miss Raven Marshall Lewis on there, and she's head of this daycare center that had the child death. And so the optic of that didn't come across very well, especially when she was going to be head of the early childhood education piece of his new administration. That's bad optics here, and it was a good thing that she stepped aside.
She did address this in an interview at the Urban Roots Farm opening, and he said that he took immediate steps, that it was a mutual parting of ways, and that she needed to focus on that family and obviously the policies.
And I agree with that.
And he mentioned the vetting process, that they're volunteers, they're not paid positions.
Right.
But then it raised the question of should there be a vetting process, even if it is a 60 person.
Well, that's a lot of people in 25 days.
I had heard there are some Republicans on the transition team, and some folks reached out to me saying, I can't believe so-and-so is involved. And I totally disagree with that. If I were asked to be on it, I would have said yes, because I want my perspective to be heard and appreciated. And I would have told him exactly what I just said about the MSCS lawsuit. So
you're becoming
I think
a moderate,
no.
Really comparing.
Wow, we didn't even react to that. That was great. Like,
You're going to ruin my career.
The tag of moderate is so bad.
No, your first appearance on this show is a little different than what we're hearing now.
It is.
We might have to make a little montage of it, actually. But yeah,
Changes in Luke, yeah.
All right, well, on that note, gentlemen, thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
We're running into time, as we always do, and thank you all again for watching. This was a great episode. Be sure to watch us next week for ABC24 This Week.